Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. And as I mentioned, we are recording because we are going to upload this to our YouTube channel for Adventures by the Book. For those who have to leave early or can't join us today, they can check it out afterwards. So, welcome everybody. My name is Susan Macbeth. I'm the founder and owner of Adventures by the Book. And I'd like to welcome you to our second annual, or second, how do I say that? Biannual, semi-annual Pitchfest, which we do every August and every January for our Adventures by the Book member authors to give them a chance to pitch their books to reading groups, readers, and libraries around the world. And we give you a cheat sheet so that you can conveniently make notes about when our authors are speaking, what you're excited about, who you want to read. And I hope you take advantage of it. I hope you invite some of these authors to your book clubs, and whether they're your favorite authors already, or, give some of the new authors a chance too that maybe you haven't discovered. You'll be in for a treat. I want to mention some of our upcoming events. For those who are in the Southern California region, we have a really exciting week coming up. We have multiple events with New York Times bestselling author Tess Gerritsen. You can go to our website, and Eliana is behind the scenes. Thank you, Eliana. She's going to be in the chat box putting links up to where you can sign up for some of those events, where you can find our authors. So make sure you take advantage of that. We also have a fun Moroccan literary adventure coming up in Vista, California, with a Moroccan-born chef and New York Times bestselling author Elizabeth Letts, whose new book takes place in Morocco. We're going to have a Moroccan morning tea. It's going to be really fun. For those of you who are joining us virtually, we're going to have a book bingo coming up, and a Adventures by the Book book club coming up. So you can check on our email or get on our email list and find out more about those informations. And then the last one I want to mention is our More Than Pink fundraising adventure. So during the month of October, we are partnering with a bunch of authors and illustrators who have personally experienced breast cancer or a family member who has had breast cancer. We're going to sell books all throughout the month of October, donate a portion of the proceeds to the Susan G. Komen Foundation. And then for those of you who are in Southern California or want to travel here for the event, 6 of those 10 authors are going to be coming to Balboa Park in San Diego. We're going to do the More Than Pink walk. You do not have to participate in the walk. You can just come to our booth in Balboa Park. You can meet the authors, get pictures, sign books. It's going to be a really fun. They're expecting over 10,000 people. So that's going to be really amazing. And we hope you support them and the Susan G. Komen Foundation. So now we're going to go ahead and get started with our authors in no particular order, but I'm going to first mention that Zelly Ruskin, you can find her on page 3 of your cheat sheet, and she is the second listing on page 3. So if you want to start turning to that now, I am going to introduce her and let her take it away from here. So Zelly Ruskin is a former social worker turned women's fiction writer. She's also passionate and outspoken about her volunteer for brain aneurysm awareness. Her novels are packed with suspense about motherhood, relationships, loss, and love. Her latest novel, One of Us Must Die, follows the tumultuous and traitorous marriage of Sterling and her gold-digging husband. It sounds so juicy. Zelly, take it away.
Thank you. And thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to share this latest book, One of Us Must Die. As you said, it is psychological suspense. It's set between Manhattan and the affluent suburbs of Westchester County. And in this story, Sterling Richardson comes from a family where wealth and appearances and legacy matter above all else. Her mother, and here you need to think like Emily Gilmore on steroids, she's always imposed her beliefs on Sterling and even designed a no divorce, no matter the circumstances provision that would cost Sterling and her future children their inheritance if she ever left a marriage. Ironically, Sterling thinks that she's escaped her mother by marrying Keith. He's charming. He loves her for who she is, not for her family's money. But after their wedding, it's clear she is, oh, so wrong. The man everyone thinks is so wonderful is actually a controlling, manipulative serial cheater. And because he's so good at maintaining his public persona, No one sees what Sterling sees. So for years, she plays along, maintaining the illusion of a perfect marriage because she believes she's protecting her three children. And the turning point comes when Sterling's daughter gets engaged, and the fiance comes to Sterling and says that he hopes that their marriage is going to be just like hers and Keith's. So Sterling realizes that the marriage she's been pretending to have has become the model for what her children are using for their own lives, and that she's actually perpetuating the very thing she thought she was protecting them from. So the lies have to end. The problem is getting out isn't quite as simple as hiring a divorce attorney, which means she's going to have to find another way. To free herself, Sterling has to outwit both her husband and the legal ties meant to trap her before it's too late, because in this family, there's only one way out. One of them has to die. So I'm often asked what inspired this story, and because I am super snarky, I usually answer, well, I'm divorced. But, if you think about it, even with the best of partners, who hasn't for like 1 nanosecond thought, I could kill them? But while one of us must die seems like it's about a woman married to a narcissist, the book isn't really about him. And I apologize to all narcissists out there, but it's not. What fascinates me and what I like to write about is how smart, competent people find themselves in relationships they never imagined that they would tolerate, and how difficult manipulation can be to recognize when you're living inside of it. And the book is also about mothers and daughters and the ways that we've been shaped by our parents. How does the way that they've raised us influence whom we choose to love? What do we carry forward into our own marriages? And what do we unknowingly pass on to our own children? So those are some of the questions I think makes One of Us Must Die especially fun for book clubs, because Sterling's choices aren't always easy ones. How much should she sacrifice for her own children? When does protecting them become lying to them? And given the title, you can sort of see where all this leads. And I am absolutely not suggesting anyone follow in Sterling's footsteps. But I do hope One of Us Must Die gives the readers a suspenseful, darkly satirical, and satisfying story of murder by marriage, and leaves book clubs arguing over one final question. How far is too far when freedom is on the other side? So
Ooh,
thank you.
sounds so good. Thank you, Zelly. And thank you for keeping it within 4 minutes. I meant to tell our readers that, I've charged all our authors with doing their presentation in 4 minutes to hmm, to make sure that our event doesn't go too long. And she nailed it. Thank you. Next up is Marissa Waltz. You will find her on page 3 of your cheat sheet, the last listing on page 3. So you can turn that to that now, the last on page 3, while I'm reading her introduction. She is a USA Today best-selling author and an alum of the Writers Loft in Chicago. She got her first paid writing gig in college as an opinion columnist and reporter for the campus newspaper, where she may or may not have fabricated a couple man on the street quotes. Good Intentions is Marissa's debut novel, a suspenseful psychological thriller that follows a luxury party planner who becomes obsessed after a chance encounter with a woman she meets in a hospital waiting room. Oh my gosh, Marissa, tell us more.
Yeah, so good evening, everyone, or afternoon, depending where you're tuning in from. I'm Marisa Walls, and yeah, my debut psychological suspense novel, Good Intentions. Like Susan said, it's about a luxury event planner. She becomes obsessed with a woman she meets in a hospital waiting room on the same day that she loses her twin. So it's a story about grief and obsession and lots of moral ambiguity, and really about the way that loss can warp our sense of reality. My main character, Katie, is very unhinged. So very unlikable female protagonist. She wants to be good. She just keeps making the worst possible choices. And watching her unravel is so excruciating, but I hope it's still deeply human. I think the truly scary thing about this book and about all my favorite books in the psychological suspense space is finding yourself relating to her every now and then. I think that's the truly scary part for me. The story is told in a very unique point of view. Katie is addressing the entire book to her dead twin sister. I originally wrote it in the first person, but I really felt like it was missing something. I wanted it to feel more confessional, like she's whispering this dark, terrible secret directly into your ear. And as soon as I started rewriting it that way in the second person, the intimacy and the claustrophobia of the story just went to another level. Um, so it's very dark and very heavy, but despite all the darkness, there is a strong thread of humor, albeit dark humor, running through the book. I can't help myself there. I've got like a little bit of a snarky tone that comes through in all my books. And speaking of funny, one of my favorite characters in the book is Katie's grief counselor, Maura. She's loud, she's feisty, she swears a lot, she listens to Radiohead. She's not what you would probably expect from a grief counselor, but she really helps Katie confront some ugly truths about herself. People, like Sally said, people often ask where this story came from, and I love to tell that story so much, but I can't. The story behind the story completely spoils the really big twist at the end. But if you read Good Intentions and you want to know, please reach out after you finish. I'm happy to share, and I promise it's a wild story. So while I can't share the personal inspiration just yet, I can tell you that I was heavily inspired by the book The Push by Ashley Audrain. If any of you have read that in your book clubs, the night I finished that book, I was so unsettled that I stayed up that whole night. I literally did not sleep. I was outlining Good Intentions. I wanted to, not copy that story, but like recreate that same kind of emotional experience. A dark, all-consuming story that punches you in the gut in the last couple pages and just leaves you reeling. And based on reviews I've seen online, I think I might have done it. I get a lot of, oh my God, what did I just read sort of comments. So if your book club loves jaw-dropping twists and emotionally charged suspense, and something that's literally guaranteed to spark up a very heated book club discussion, this one is for you guys. So that's it. One last quick note before I go. I do love to drop into Zoom calls like this with book clubs. So if your club picks Good Intentions, please feel free to reach out on Instagram or via my website. It's just my first and last name.com. I think it's going to be provided to you as well. And we'll set something up. And I'm happy to send signed book plates too for anyone that buys the physical copy. So that's it for me in Good Intention. Thank you so much for your time.
Great. Thank you, Marissa. Sounds wonderful. Next up, we have James Fry, and you will find him on your cheat sheet, the first listing on page 2. So turn your cheat sheet to page 2. It'll be the top listing there. James Fry is an American author and businessman. He was called America's most notorious author by Time magazine and the bad boy of American literature by the New York Times. His novels, A Million Little Pieces, Bright Shiny Morning, and The Final Testament of the Holy Bible have all gone on to become bestsellers across the world. Worldwide, his books have sold more than 30 million, and let me repeat that, 30 million copies, and his work has been published in 42 languages. Amazing. His newest novel, Next to Heaven, is a masterclass in scandal, mystery, and privilege. Welcome. We're glad you're here, James. Oh, we can't hear you. You've got yourself muted, but okay, I think he's going to join us in a second. So give him just a minute. If we can't get him on right away, we'll skip. Oh, here he is.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you now. Great. Welcome, James.
Sorry about that. How y'all doing today?
Good. We're ready to hear your lovely
I guess I don't really have a pitch. I've done a billion book clubs. I've done the most famous book clubs in the world. I love doing book clubs. I love talking to people about books. I think it's fun and cool. My mom's in a book club. I'm in a book club. My book club was written about by the Wall Street Journal. Yeah, my books. I lived in the wealthiest town in the world for 12 years, which is New Canaan, Connecticut. Um, There are 17,000 people there and 51 billionaires. 10% of America's billionaires live in a town of 17,000 people. It is a bubble of wealth and privilege and um, almost no morality, even though everyone there likes to think they're real good. Um, the book came about because I got divorced 6 years ago. My first girlfriend after I got divorced was a model named Paulina Poroskova. And after our first time we had dinner in New Canaan, 2 days later, we got invited to a swingers party at a billionaire's house. We did not go to the party, but we talked about it a lot and we laughed about it a lot. And then about 3 weeks later, we got invited to another one. And so I decided to write a book about what I imagined it would probably be like to go to a swingers party at a billionaire's house in the wealthiest town in the world, where I have lived for a long time. The book's supposed to be fun and dirty and make you laugh and make you love some people and make you hate some other people. Um, it was a joy to write it. It's been fun publishing it. I think I told you I like book clubs, and my mom's in a book club, and I'm in one too. Does anybody have questions?
Yeah, so we love the fact that you've been all the way on, to the Oprah Book Club, and now you're willing to go into anybody's living room via Zoom and book club with them. And your books are amazing. So Next to Heaven is based on your experiences living in New Canaan.
I mean, I wouldn't say it's based on it because it's a novel. It's absolute fiction. But sure, it's based on living here in this crazy ass town. I kind of wanted to write a book like Gatsby, to be honest. Like Gatsby, and when Gatsby was written, he was living at the end of the greatest accumulation of wealth in the history of existence. And living in this town for the last 11 years, I have watched what is now the greatest accumulation of wealth in the history of existence. More people have gotten insanely and irresponsibly rich in the last 15 years than ever. And so I live in this town where I see crazy shit. People who can literally buy anything. There are three dudes in my town with more than $100 billion, right? They can buy anything they want whenever they want, and they live with no rules. They live with no boundaries, and it's kind of fucked up, and it's kind of fascinating, and it's kind of funny. I make fun of the rich people. I tease them, and when the book came out, about half the town loved it and half the town hated it. But I love book clubs. Like I said, yeah, I'm the best-selling Oprah book club of all time, even though I got kicked out.
So you've got some juicy stories to share with book clubs. That's what you're saying. And I know I see your publicist.
Well, isn't the whole point of a book club to read and talk about
Absolutely.
and share juicy stories, man?
Absolutely.
Right?
But what I'm saying is that people can like invite you into the comfort of their living room. They can be in their pajamas and talk to James Fry. I mean, how amazing is that? And your publicist just typed a link into the chat box that I hope everyone checks out. There, you have a great book club guide. The Wall Street Journal calls it a sizzling beach read about the misdeeds of the rich. And it sounds like you've been experiencing that personally. So I think it's going to be a juicy read for any book club.
Yeah, Book of the Month Club called it Not Safe for Work Gatsby, which I think is the funniest way to describe it. But
That's
yeah,
great.
I do love book clubs. I love doing book clubs on Zoom. I go to them around here. I have three local independent bookstores within about 10 miles of me: Bedford Books, Booksy, and Elm Street Books. And I do all their little book clubs. Yeah, I love book clubs. I love books. I love talking about books. I love smart people who think books are cool, right? Anybody who's that is my people, and I'm happy to hang out with them and chat with them, whether it's my book or some other bullshit, right?
I have to say, our adventurers are the smartest, well-read group. So I hope they pick you for the read, and we thank you for joining us today. Sounds like a fascinating read. Thank you, James.
Thank you. I hope y'all have a lovely evening. I hope you read good, cool books.
You too. Good night.
Bye bye.
Okay, next up we have Heather Webb, who is turn to your cheat sheet, the very last page, and last doesn't mean least in this case for sure. Heather Webb is terrific. She is a USA Today and international best-selling author of 11 historical novels, including Queens of London, The Next Ship Home, and Christmas with the Queen. She is the 2018 Women's Fiction Writers Association Star Award recipient, a finalist for the Goldsboro RNA Award in the UK, as well as the 2019 Digital Book World Fiction Prize. Her novels have been translated into 20 languages worldwide. The Hope Keeper is Heather's upcoming, it's already here, right? Historical fiction novel set in DC's Jazz Age, where socialites glitter. We were just talking about socialites with James, so we have more.
Like he was saying some of my taglines a little bit. It's okay. Well,
her socialites glitter brighter than their dazzling diamonds, but not all is what it seems when Elizabeth Beaumont comes into contact with the infamous Hope Diamond. Spill us some more juice, Heather.
yes. Hi. Nice to see everybody tonight. And I will start by saying I also live in Connecticut, but in the quiet little grimy university corner of Eastern Connecticut in the woods next to a lake and not with that crazy accumulation of wealth. So I was listening to James. It was kind of hilarious to me because we live in opposite worlds. So I'm happy to be here. I'm talking about my latest book, which is The Hope Keeper. It came out kind of late May, early summer, and it is about the last woman who owned the Hope Diamond, a real person, Evelyn Walsh McLean, who was an incredible socialite. Speaking of wealth and Gatsby, this has some of those vibes. And about a fictional jeweler who tends to her collection. And she is my fictional jeweler is my main character. And she's in search of answers about the untimely death of her twin brother. In the midst of all of this, you have this big question of, are curses real? Is the Hope Diamond really cursed? How does that happen? And you actually hear from the Hope Diamond itself. I've sprinkled little bits from the Hope Diamond's point of view throughout the book, just to add a little bit of intrigue. There are this is a really culturally rich area and time. It's 1919 Washington, D.C., so we're right on the verge of all of these monuments that we love to visit are being built at this time, and you see this in the book. A lot of the museums, and in fact, you see some female scientists sort of toiling and making their way in the National Museum of Natural History as well. So you get all of this great stuff as part of the backdrop, along with jewelry making and how they found those gems for these insane tiaras and very, very, very famous gemstones, including the Hope Diamond. There's also rich people behaving badly, a little bit to overlap with James, although I think our books are probably quite different. Some toxic friendship stuff, but there's everybody's got a secret that you want to know. And my young woman who's looking for answers is quite grief-stricken and on a mission. There's also a little bit of a love thread. So you're getting there's a lot. There's a lot here. There's a little bit for everyone. I really loved writing this book. It was a huge challenge to write this book. I started it and thought it was going to be one of my sort of regular historical fiction novels, and then it decided it wanted to be a little bit of a mystery also, and then I had to tear the whole thing apart and rewrite it. But it was great fun. Um, Lastly, you can find me, and the best way to keep up with what I'm doing and what's coming out next, including I'm about to announce a new book with Hazel Gaynor, my sometimes book wife, this fall, through my newsletter on my website at heatherwebbauthor.com. It goes out once a month. I hate spam, so I never spam. Get lots of great little bits from me as well, articles and free stuff. So it's a great place to be on the web, and I hope to see you there.
Great. Thank you so much. And I can attest to Heather's books being fabulous. I've read, I think, all of them. She's really interesting to invite to your book club. So much juicy information so you can learn the gritty life of billionaires from James to go on to the diamond crowd with Heather, and you can't go wrong. Next up, I'm going to have Eliana cue up the video because Rosa Kwan Easton was not able to join us live, but she did send in a 4-minute video. So her new book, Red Seal. She is an Anaphora Writing Residency Fellow, has been published in Craft Literary, StoryCenter.org, Writer's Digest, and elsewhere. She's a graduate of Smith College, Columbia University, and Boston College Law School. She's a lawyer and trustee of the Palos Verdes Library District in LA. Red Seal is her novel about a multi-generational saga that follows a Korean mother and son as they navigate displacement, wars, and identity across both decades and borders. And what's fascinating about it is it's based on her family story. So she will be in San Diego at our upcoming event this fall when the book releases on Pub Date. She'll also be in LA, where she was just recently selected as the Palos Verdes Citywide Reads Reader, PV Reads, which is exciting. So let's get a minute to cue that video up. Are you ready, Eliana?
Yes, thanks, Susan. Okay, let me know if you can see my screen. Does everyone see that okay?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Oh, we can't hear her. Hang on, we're working on this.
Hear.
We're working on the
Okay.
sound.
It's possible that it's my AirPods, so let me try to take those out.
Give us just a minute.
Thank you to Adventures by the Book and Susan, who has been a good friend of mine for many years. Thank you to all of you for being here today. I'm sorry I couldn't be here in person as I'm traveling, but I'd love to share a little bit about my new novel, Red Seal, coming out this October. Red Seal is a sequel to my debut novel, White Mulberry, but it stands alone. It's a story inspired by my father's and grandmother's lives and follows the journey of a single mother and her young son as they navigate the Japanese occupation of Korea and Manchuria, World War II, and the Korean War. But what it's really about is love, a mother's love to protect her son at all costs, and a son's yearning to determine his own future. It's about a little-known period of history of World War II in Asia, shown through the eyes of ordinary people doing extraordinary things just to survive. In Red Seal, a son longs to claim his true family name, which was lost when his stepfather adopts him. Names are important in my novel, and for us too. We all have a story about our names. That's where the title Red Seal comes from. It's the name chalk or seal that symbolizes your identity and legacy in Korea. Sometimes we want to erase our names. Sometimes we want to live up to the person associated with our names. The son in my novel goes to great lengths to use his true name again, while his mother seeks to prevent him from doing so to protect a deep-seated secret. How is your identity defined by your name? Red Seal is based on oral interviews I conducted with my grandmother before she passed away at 95. I interviewed my father too, who is 90 today. I wanted to capture their memories before they were lost and share them with the next generation. My grandmother didn't want to talk about her painful past, but my dad couldn't stop talking. Sometimes their stories varied so much that I wondered who was telling the truth. It was the duality of their points of view that formed the central conflict in Red Seal. What was going on in a boy's head and a mother's heart as the world changed around them? How did they maintain their bond despite their differences? I have 2 children of my own, so I wanted to explore the complicated relationship between a parent and child in my novel. I turned my family's stories into historical fiction because I wanted to capture the emotions and nuances of my characters that I couldn't if I had written nonfiction. I wanted readers to live and feel the history of this time alongside my characters. I also wanted to honor my family's stories. In the process, I learned so much about myself. I discovered my heritage and all the different parts of myself that make me who I am. The memories of my elders experiencing war, migration, and struggle have shaped me and helped me understand that every day is a miracle. If you love historical fiction based on a true story, I hope you read Red Seal. Please invite me to your book club, library, or organization. I promise we'll have a lively discussion.
Great. Thank you, Rosa, for joining us. And I'll wait till you mute. Okay, great. And I just wanted to mention, I don't know how much of that video you got because Eliana and I are in the same room, so we're hearing feedback from each other, but hopefully you didn't. But I just want to mention that it is based on the real life story of her father and grandmother. It's a remarkable story. So I hope you pick it up. Even though it is fiction, it's still based on a real story. It's fascinating. Great discussion for book clubs. Next up, we have Crystal King, and you can find her on the second page of your cheat sheet, and she is the fourth one down on page 2. So make sure you make some good notes for her. Crystal King is a best-selling novelist, culinary enthusiast, and marketing expert whose writing is fueled by a love of history and a passion for the food, language, and culture of Italy. She has taught writing, creativity, and social media at UMass Boston, Boston University, Massachusetts College of Art, Harvard Extension School, and Grub Street. The Happiness Collector is a stunning contemporary fantasy novel for fans of V.E. Schwab and Kellyanne Bradley, in which a historian's dream job in Italy takes a dark turn when she discovers her employers aren't exactly human. Tell us more.
Oops. All right. Can everybody see my screen? Okay, excellent. Thank you, everybody. I'm so excited to be here today. My novel, The Happiness Collector, is a wonderful, fun, crazy story that I had the chance to put together, all about a place I love, which is Italy. And so my character, Aida, is a historian, and she is someone who, as mentioned, takes this job that is just completely bonkers, very different than what she would have ever imagined. She goes, and she thinks it's a temporary position she's taking for a few months to help pay off her wedding. And she ends up going and she stays in this amazing place. And I'm going to show you some of the places that she stays in and talk you through the book a little bit. So her employers, that she's hired by, put her up in this incredible palazzo, and I based it off this real place, Palazzo Sacchetti, which is on sale right now in Rome for $57 million. And so I had great fun researching it. Here's what the garden looks like in some of the frescoes. She takes this job. It's wild and strange, and also this place is also near Piazza Navona. If people have been to Rome, it's very close to Piazza Navona, which is my favorite piazza. And but her job is to collect and record and take information down about what makes people happy about the places that they're visiting. And she does this all over Italy. And the first place she goes is Casa de Gatta. And this is a tiny little museum off the beaten path. And it's on the Via del Corso in Rome. And she goes there and she spends time in this particular library. And she is researching a little bit about the life of this author who wrote a book that's set in Italy, that he talks all about how much he loved the country and loved it in general. And so the people that come to this museum get to see art about him and about the people that he knew in his life. And so she starts there, but she also goes to places like the Chapel of the Madonna di Vitelletta, which is in Tuscany. It's one of the most recognized places in Italy in photos. And part of Gladiator was filmed outside in the fields near this church. She also, of course, goes to the Colosseum. And of course, you see something really like tragic happening on the cover of the book. And so that's all I'll say about that. She also goes to Palazzo Spada, which is this wonderful little art museum. And this is the Borromini perspective. That little statue in the back there is actually probably as high as my waist. And this is maybe about 15 feet away. It's not far. It's just this really wild perspective. And we also spent some time in the San Calixtus catacombs, which was super fun to write. It's the largest catacombs in Rome, and it sprawls like over 12 miles, and they haven't mapped it all, in fact. But what's interesting about this is that she is dealing with ancient Greek gods, and she doesn't know this right away. And I'm not going to tell you about all these gods because some of them are very obscure. And if I tell you who they are, then that's all spoilery. But there are a few that are part of it. And I set this in a fictional time frame after Zeus has fled the world and taken most of the gods with him, but some remain, and including Pandora, who has a jar in antiquity, not a box, and the three graces. And so that's pretty much the kicker for Happiness Collector. I'm not going to tell you any more about that, but as mentioned, I have a few other books. In the Garden of Monsters, The Chef's Secret, and Feast of Sorrow. All three of those books are full of food, and I have a downloadable guide on my website for cookbooks for my first three books, and then a guide to Rome on my site for the Happiness Collector. And of course, as everybody here knows, we all love talking to book clubs, and I'm no exception. So thank you so much, and thanks for having me.
Thank you, Crystal. And I have to say, if you love food, fantasy, fiction, more food, and Italy, you will want to schedule a visit with Crystal. She's fascinating. Her books are fascinating. And I'm really excited about the Happiness Collector. So thank you for joining us. Next up, we have Gabriella Saab. So you can find her on your cheat sheet on page 3. And she's the third one down. So turn your page to that as I introduce Gabriella Saab, an acclaimed author of historical fiction. Her first two novels, The Last Checkmate and Daughters of Victory, have been published in multiple languages in various countries. She graduated from Mississippi State University with a Bachelor of Business Administration and Marketing and lives in her hometown in Alabama. Although I think she's joining us from a hotel today. So in the Survivors Guild, Gabriella draws upon her Lebanese heritage through the story of Nabiha Bia Nora. Sorry if I butchered that name, who in 1912 aboard the Titanic is traveling to America to find work, eager to earn the funds necessary to afford passage for the family she left in Lebanon. So this is a very unique Titanic story. Tell us more, Gabriella.
Yes, so the Survivors Guild releases on Tuesday, so it is almost here. I have been calling this book The Titanic meets Downton Abbey meets HBO's The Gilded Age, but make it a little bit Lebanese. Because that is pretty much what sums up what the book is about. It is about the Titanic, but it's more so about the aftermath. Because, as Susan mentioned, I am Lebanese on my father's side, and I discovered, I guess it was about 8 years ago or so, I was at a convention at the Southern Federation of Syrian American Clubs, and there was a discussion about Lebanese immigrants on the Titanic. And that was the first I'd heard of Lebanese immigrants being aboard the Titanic. Obviously, I knew the ship was carrying immigrants, but I had never heard this side of the story. So I really wanted to explore that and to tell that because my ancestors, as far as I know, were not on that ship, but they came to America kind of around that same time. So I thought it would just be a really interesting story to tell, an interesting way to explore my own heritage. So I did that through this book. And so we have Nabiha, who goes by B, who is coming to America from a little village in Lebanon with her cousin to find work and to settle their family and hopefully move the rest of the family over once they have earned enough money to do so. And then in first class, we have an American heiress named Marguerite, who is engaged to a British earl because her family is what they called nouveau riche at the time. So you had old money and new money. The old money people were generational wealth. The new money was earning their money through their businesses, things like that. So there was this big disparity in society about, who was worth respecting, essentially. And so to gain respect, these nouveau riche families would marry off their daughters to titled Europeans and noblemen overseas to give them a title and therefore earn respect. And so Marguerite is doing this for her family to kind of fulfill her duty to them until the ship sinks and then B saves her life. And they end up with a baby boy who, once they get aboard the Carpathia, is not claimed by any of the other survivors. So now these two women form a charity to hopefully help other survivors and find this child's next of kin. And through that and through these experiences, they both kind of begin to reevaluate their lives. And Marguerite questions if she really wants to get married to a man she doesn't love, and B is trying to figure out how she's going to, complete this monumental task of moving her family to America. And it's a really interesting time in New York and in the country in 1912, because we're kind of moving out of all this opulence from the Gilded Age and Edwardian eras into progressive era. And the middle class is kind of emerging. So it's really, really interesting to explore all sides of society through both of these women and through their different perspectives. And there's just a friendship that blossoms between them and is very much about found family, a female friendship. There's a little bit of mystery, there's a little bit of romance, and just I had a lot of fun with it. I learned so much and I got to just create New York in 1912, which was amazing and so much fun, and tell a side of the Titanic story that we hopefully have not heard before. So if that is something that interests you, as with everyone, I love talking to book clubs. I will come chat with you. I will show you a PowerPoint. I will cook Lebanese food with you. I will do whatever you want. And I am on Substack if you want to sign up for my newsletter, and then of course on my socials or my website. And like I said, the Survivors Guild comes out on September 1st. If you want a signed copy, my indie is called The Haunted Bookshop. It's in Mobile, Alabama. I will sign it to you. I will ship it to you. Otherwise, request it from your libraries. Get the audiobook that is narrated by Saskia Marleveld and Gail Shalin, because it is fantastic. They are fantastic. And I hope you love this book, and I hope you will read it.
Sounds great, Gabriella. Thank you. And what book club wouldn't want to cook a meal of Lebanese food while they're talking another fascinating Titanic story with Gabriella right in the comfort of your living room? Who doesn't want that?
Let's go.
Next up, we have another recording. So if I can ask Eliana to cue that up while I'm introducing Laura Camoy. You can go to page 2 of your cheat sheet, and she is the third listing down on page 2 of your cheat sheet. Laura Camoy is a Wall Street Journal, New York Times, and USA Today bestselling author of America's First Daughter and My Dear Hamilton. She holds a doctoral degree in early American history from the College of William and Mary, published 2 nonfiction books on early America, has extensive public history experience, and most recently held the position of Associate Professor of History at the U.S. Naval Academy before transitioning to a full-time career writing genre fiction. Just in time this year for the 250th anniversary of the birth of the United States comes her newest historical fiction novel, which I will hold up since she's not here, A Founding Mother, a sweeping, intimate portrayal of Abigail Adams, wife of one president and mother to another, whose wit, willpower, and wisdom helped shape the fledgling republic. You cannot go wrong with her book, with Laura Camoy and her co-author, Stephanie Dre. So take it away, Eliana, with her recording, as Laura couldn't be here with us today.
Perfect. Thanks, Susan. All right, here is Laura's video.
Hi, everybody. My name is Laura Camoy, and I am one of the authors of
Try that one more time. All right, thank you. Here we are.
Hi, everybody. My name is Laura Camoy, and I am one of the authors of the novel A Founding Mother, which is about Abigail Adams, who was our first second lady and our second first lady. So I'm so excited to get the chance to pitch A Founding Mother to you today. But I have to start out with a little bit of an apology because I'm really sorry that I'm not here live to do it. Today is my birthday. So I'm out celebrating with my family, but I'm really grateful to all of you for being here, for being so excited about all of our novels, and to the Adventures by the Book people for organizing this great event and having us all, get together to talk books. So let me get right into pitching a founding mother. Now, I think most people know probably one of three things about Abigail Adams. First, that she was the wife of one president and the mother to another. Second, that she and her husband John have about 1,000 surviving letters between the two of them that tell us so much about this era of history and about their marriage. And third, that she wrote a letter to John in which she admonished him to remember the ladies in creating the laws of the new nation. But there's so much more to Abigail Adams, some of which we were really surprised to find when we wrote A Founding Mother. Even in that quote, she goes on to say so much more, and some of it is a lot more interesting and more radical than Remember the Ladies. She goes on to say to John, "Do not put such unlimited power into the hands of the husbands. Remember that all men would be tyrants if they could. If particular care and attention is not paid to the ladies, we are determined to foment a rebellion and will not be bound by any laws in which we have no voice or representation." Those are pretty interesting words for March of 1776, but they really tell us so much about Abigail, who she was, what she believed in, what she advocated for, that she was willing to go toe-to-toe with John Adams and other big thinkers of the day, that she was able and willing to use the same ideology that the men justified independence with to argue for women's rights and independence. And so that's just your first hint that there's a lot more to Abigail Adams than what is most typically known about her. She was also an entrepreneur. When John wasn't bringing in his regular attorney income, and she needed to make ends meet, she created a mercantile business, importing goods from other cities and ultimately from Europe. And she did so well that she recruited other ladies to help sell her goods, and ultimately was able to invest her quite significant income into land and securities. And at the end of the war, when a lot of founding families were financially harmed by the war, the Adams family emerges financially solvent, and that's largely due to her efforts alone. She was also a world traveler. She accompanied ultimately John on a number of his diplomatic missions. She was entirely in charge of the children, their education, the farm, the tenants, their workers, making the choice to inoculate the family against smallpox because they lived right on the front lines. And when John ultimately is elected to the presidency, she becomes his primary political advisor, and both friend and foe, sometimes jokingly referred to as Mrs. President. So if you want a story that's filled with inspiration and hopefulness and a badass woman, check out A Founding Mother. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Laura, sending in that recording. And I know some of you have problems listening to the recording. It varies depending on your computer and the quality of the video we're sending, that were sent. So hopefully you were able to hear most of that. But if not, definitely check out A Founding Mother and Laura Camoy. I mean, her books are a great read anytime, but especially in the 250th anniversary year of our country. It's a really fascinating time to read more about it. So thank you, Laura. Next up, we have Lisa Cheek, and you can find her on page 1 of your cheat sheet, the second listing down on page 1. Lisa Cheek is an author and former film and television editor, known for her humorous, candid writing about relationships and identity. Her debut novel, Sit, Cinderella Sit, was a People magazine pick, an Amazon bestseller, and a Next Generation Indie Book Award finalist. Her latest memoir is The Big Day, a funny, unflinching look at love, marriage, and the complicated question of whether to stay or walk away. You can write so much about that. We're anxious to hear from you, Lisa. Is Lisa here? Okay, Lisa may not have chimed in yet, so we're going to go ahead and move on to Meg Donahue next. And if Lisa joins us a little bit late, we will cut to her in just a little bit. Let's go on to Meg Donahue. You'll also find her on page 1 of your cheat sheet. Third listing down on page 1 of your cheat sheet. Meg is the USA Today bestselling author of 6 novels, which have been published in 9 languages. She writes with warmth and humor about love, hope, family, friendship, loss, and forgiveness. She has a deep affinity for animals, especially dogs and horses, and she's never stepped into a garden or a beach she doesn't love. The Memory Gardener is her latest book, and it's a cozy, heartwarming tale about the power of memory and the nourishing magic of gardens. It is so delightful. Featuring Lucy Barnes, who has an uncanny ability to know exactly which scent among the flowers she grows will return a person to a long forgotten memory. What a great concept. Meg, tell us more.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me? Oh, great. Hi, I'm joining everyone from San Francisco, and I'm so excited to have the opportunity to talk to you all about my latest book, The Memory Gardener. This is my 6th novel. It was published by Simon & Schuster in November. It's a very big-hearted, uplifting, cozy book. I think it really appeals to readers who loved Joanne Harris's Chocolat, any of Sarah Addison Allen's books. It's got a little bit of magic and a little bit of mystery. And in terms of a synopsis, it is about a gardener named Lucy Barnes who has a magical ability to grow flowers whose scents can awaken lost memories. And these scents they're not just a random memory from someone's past. They are a memory that that person really needs to revisit in order to make a decision in their current life, and it's going to affect their future. So early in the novel, Lucy reads this mysterious note that leads her to take a job restoring these 5 walled gardens at a retirement home called the Ocean View Home. And this is all set in Northern California, sort of in a fictional town very loosely based on Half Moon Bay. So Lucy takes this job, and the Ocean View Home, when she arrives, is this very sort of down on its luck, quiet place. The residents there aren't really interacting with each other very much. They're not really going outside. But as Lucy begins to restore the gardens, the residents start to come outside and develop a relationship with her and develop relationships with each other, and of course are affected by the flowers that she grows and start recalling all sorts of forgotten moments from their lives. And there are also some long buried secrets that get stirred in this process. So there's a mystery thread sort of running through the novel that keeps the pages turning. And there is a big surprise twist, which readers have seemed to really enjoy and was very fun to write. So let's see, why do I think this would be a great book for book clubs, or why do I think it is a great book for book clubs? I think this story is just really rich with a lot of interesting ideas that are very fun to discuss. Probably the most obvious one is the connection between scent and memory. I sort of heighten that in the book to make it magical, but of course it's a real phenomenon that we probably have all experienced. And I have had such a wonderful time receiving all of these emails and notes from readers who are sharing these anecdotes with me about scents and the connection to a certain memory, how, the scent of lavender always makes them think of spending summers with their grandmother, or, smelling the rain falling in the trees reminds them of summer camp when they were a child. And just these really lovely stories that are just wonderful to share with one another, and I think make for a great book club discussion. I think along those same lines, because these memories are returning someone to a moment in their past, I think asking your book club if there were a moment that they could return to from their past, what would that moment be and why? I think that's a very fun question to discuss. Another one is to talk about places that bring one comfort, that maybe hold a little bit of magic for each of us. Lucy finds that gardens are very comforting for her, and the flowers that she grows and the flowers that all flowers really, they communicate with her. Their scents carry messages for her. And at the start of each chapter, I have a description of a certain flower, and I write what that flower's scent means to Lucy and what message it's conveying to Lucy. And that is sort of a little hint about what's to come in that chapter ahead. So I think that talking with your book club about places like gardens, that bring one comfort, whether that is, being by the sea or being by the woods, being in nature, being in a bookstore, being in a library, curling up by the fire with a good book, all of these, I think, are places that bring some of us comfort and hold a little bit of magic for us. And I think there's something really hopeful and helpful in practicing identifying those so that you can really appreciate these small moments in your life that hold a little bit of magic. And I think that's really what I want people to take away from this book. It feels like a warm hug, but I also want people to take away this feeling of everyday life can hold a bit of magic if you know where to look and you're willing to be open to it. Yeah, so that's all I have for you. I'm so excited to be able to share this book with you. I have actually a ton of book club questions on my website, which is megdonahue.com. And I love visiting book clubs, zooming in with them. So really don't hesitate to reach out. I'd love to chat about scent and memory and Lucy. And she has a great big dog that everybody loves. So dog lovers will love this book as well. And yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, Meg. And it's absolutely delightful book. I know my personal book club selected it because they wanted to chat with Meg Donahue, and they just ranted and raved about what a delightful conversation and read it was. So thank you for that. Highly recommend. And next up, we have our last recording of the day. Christina Baker-Klein unfortunately wasn't able to make it today, but she did send us a recording. So you can find her on page 1 of your cheat sheet, and she will be the first listing on page 1. And I will hold up her book since she's not here to do so. The Foursome, fascinating, just fascinating. Christina Baker-Klein is the #1 New York Times bestselling author of 10 novels, including Orphan Train, The Exiles, and Please Don't Lie with Ann Burt. She's published in more than 40 countries, and her novels have received the New England Prize for Fiction, the Maine Literary Award, a Barnes & Noble Discover Award, among others, and have been chosen by hundreds of communities, schools, and universities as one-book selections. The Foursome is her boldly original reimagining of an astonishing true story. 2 sisters in 19th century North Carolina, Christina's own distant relatives, now this is really fascinating, who married the world-famous conjoined twins from Siam. You will remember the Siamese twins, Chang and Ang Bunker. So Eliana is going to cue up that recording, and I am going to turn down my volume to hopefully get rid of any feedback. Take it away, Eliana.
Thanks. All right.
Hi, I'm Christina Baker-Klein, and this is my new novel, The Foursome. Actually, can you see it? It's a little fuzzy. So this novel takes place in 19th century North Carolina. It's the story of 2 sisters, Sarah and Allie, who married 2 brothers, Chang and Bunker, who happened to be famous men of the world at the time. They were the original Kings, as they called themselves, who were conjoined in small marriage, and it was a crazy situation. Number one, that these men would end up in North Carolina, having come from Thailand as children. Number 2, that they would marry these 2 daughters of quite a conservative landowner in North Carolina at a time when, let's just say, race relations were quite complicated, not to mention the fact of their conjoinment. Number 3, that they had 21 children and lived on adjoining hillsides. One of the sisters had 10 children and one had 11. And I am writing from the perspective of the older sister, but the less charismatic sister, who was coerced into marriage by her social climbing, social butterfly sister, Adelaide. And she married Sarah, my character, married the shy brother. So it's a story of the South, of the Civil War, of the American capacity for reinvention, of sort of what happens to every couple, I think, on some level, but also the extraordinary story of this very unusual situation. And there's a line in the novel where Sarah says, even the most extraordinary life feels ordinary when you're living it. And that was definitely what I was going for, was to try to sort of translate what it would have felt like to really have a relationship, not only with your husband, but with your sister and with your sister's husband in such close proximity in a way that wasn't just completely insane. So that is my new novel, The Foursome, and I hope you'll read it and enjoy it.
And thank you, Christina, for sending in that recording. And thank you, Haley, in the chat box. Haley reminded us that the book was named one of Oprah Daily 24 best books of summer. The New York Times Book Review quoted, "Klein does not shy away from the awkward logistics of Sarah's extraordinary domestic arrangement, but what's remarkable is her ability to downplay its sensational aspect in favor of its emotional complexity." And she has on her website a book club and discussion guide for those of you who pick her book, which I highly recommend. I mean, Christina does not write books that are not fascinating. Every one of them is phenomenal. So we appreciate her joining us virtually today. Next up, we have Miss Rebecca Rosenberg, who is never far away from a glass of champagne. You have a glass of champagne with you, Rebecca? Okay, fabulous. And cheers to her, because she's a new grandmother, a beautiful new grandchild. We're really happy for her. Let me tell you, she is on page 3 of your cheat sheet, the first listing on page 3 of your cheat sheet. So turn to that so you can take notes about her. She's an award-winning historical novelist. She fell in love with sparkling wine in Sonoma, California, where she lives on a lavender farm with her family. Part-time now. I understand she's closer to her grandchild the other part of the time. She founded the country's largest lavender company. Since then, she's pursued decades of delicious research about champagne in the wine caves and cellars of France and California. She's got a rough job. She's a champagne historian, a speaker, a tour guide, an interviewer for Breathless Wines and SparklingDiscoveries.com. She's also a speaker for the National Women's History Alliance. Licensed to Thrill, Lily Bollinger is her new historical novel, following the life of Lily Bollinger in a fascinating dual timeline narrative covering 2 eras, one legacy, and a woman who proves the finest vintages are impossible to crush. Tell us more, Rebecca.
Okay, well, first, if you have a glass of something, I have to raise a toast to all of us who daily meet life's overwhelming challenges, with courage and ingenuity. And that was Lily Bollinger, as you will see when you read this book. She is a widow who used that exact same spirit to beat the Nazi occupation, charm James Bond, yes, James Bond, and invent the world's finest champagne at 70 years old. So cheers to Lily Bollinger. So Licensed to Thrill is a dual timeline novel of Lily Bollinger's life from 1970s glamour straight back to 1940s grit. Our story kicks off in the 1970s. Lily is 68 years old and she is a global icon. She is on the movie sets of James Bond, making her champagne 007's signature drink for 16 movies. She sponsors the Monte Carlo races. She entertains presidents and royalty. But to understand how she got there, we jump back in the novel to 1942. Imagine Lily. Her fighter pilot husband just died. You're left completely alone to run Bollinger's estate just as the Nazis occupy your town and loot your cellars. Most people would break, but Lily hides her finest vintages behind fake brick walls and runs the French resistance right beneath the boots of the enemies and hides allies in her attic. Back in 1970, Lily is fighting a different kind of war, which actually is very, very funny and runs throughout the book, with a pompous, chauvinistic wine critic who is writing a book about Bollinger, but refuses to believe a woman can run a champagne empire. Lily patiently teaches him how to make the finest champagne, even as he insults her in his book, calling her a dour Scottish woman. And actually, their sparring is so much fun. But Lily gets the last laugh because his best-selling book makes Bollinger world famous. Back to the 1940s, after the war, Lily knew that the world needed to celebrate again. She boarded the Queen Elizabeth and took America by storm. In the book, you will watch Lily rub shoulders with actress Ingrid Bergman as she prepares to play Joan of Arc, who just happens to be Lily's patron saint. You will be in the courtroom as Lily fights all of Spain, to protect the sacred name of champagne, and you will uncover her secret romance with a dashing ship captain who sweeps her off her feet. As Lily's life proceeds to 1975, and she's throwing her 75th birthday party, and she is presenting a world-class champagne that today sells for $1,500 a bottle. She faces one final hurdle: who will run her winery when she is gone? She's trained her nephews in the champagne trade, and they are fiercely vying for the job. Does she pick the charming nephew who's multiplied sales tenfold, or the nephew who manages the winery? It's a high-stakes rivalry that only Lily can judge. And so License to Thrill is the final book in my Champagne Widows trilogy, and I have developed a special thing for Adventures by the Book clubs, that they will receive my exclusive Champagne Widows tasting party guide. And I'm very excited about this because you can actually taste the 3 champagnes that these widows created. And thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Rebecca. So if you love champagne, and I'm telling you, even if you don't, they're fascinating reads. She does meticulous research, a wealth of knowledge. She is a wealth of knowledge, and her books are too. And I see comments from 2 people in the audience, Lola and Seaside. Sorry, it doesn't have a name, so I don't know who that is, but they currently have book clubs visits scheduled with Rebecca. So thank you for that. And thank you, Denise. We're excited that you're going to be talking to Rebecca soon. All right, next up. Oh, and before I forget, as we're winding down, do not leave early. We don't want the last people on the list to be cheated, because at the end, we're going to do our giveaway, and you don't want to miss out on that. You do have to be present to win, so don't go anywhere. Next up, we have Joe Stillman. You will find Joe on page 3 of your cheat sheet, and the 4th book listing down on page 3. Joe Stillman's writing credits include Shrek, Shrek 2, King of the Hill, The Adventures of Pete and Pete, Beavis and Butthead, Planet 51, and Gulliver's Travels, among others. For Shrek, he was nominated for an Oscar and won a BAFTA award. Congratulations, Joe. That's amazing. For King of the Hill, he was nominated for 2 Emmys. My gosh. His first novel, The Man Who Came and Went, was the result of a 30-year journey that included failures, near misses, and approximately 9,000 pounds of self-doubt, which you would never believe after reading the novel. It's incredible. Joe is incredible and one of the nicest guys we've ever met. We're excited to have him here. Joe, welcome.
Oh man, I'm gonna, and thank you. That was such a beautiful introduction. I appreciate that, Susan, and thank you for including me in this. And I also want to just thank you all for showing up. So just a quick word about my novel. This is called The Man. I'm going to hold this up for a little bit. The Man Who Came and Went. It's the story of a spirit who comes to Earth in a recently deceased body. And he does that because he wants to experience life on Earth without having to commit to it, without having to commit to a full life. So while he's here, he gets a job in a small town diner, and while he's cooking, it turns out that he actually is able to mind read people's orders. He knows what people want without them actually having to order, and that and the way he cooks and what his food does changes the lives of everybody who comes to that small town. And it is now out on Kindle recently, and you can find it on Amazon. So after that novel came out, I kind of got busy back in show business, and I was working on some screenplays and some smaller jobs. And I don't know if you have followed what goes on in the movie business these days, but it's in kind of a contraction, and it's not the good kind of contraction, like say giving birth. It's the bad kind of contraction where something gets smaller and smaller. But for me, that's kind of good news because I really want to be able to turn to two books that I'm dying to write, one of which I kind of like along the way on. That one, the first, is a collection of personal essays. I have posted a few of them on my website. The website, unsurprisingly, is called joestillman.com. And if you care to see them, you can go there. It's under Joe's writing, and then under Joe's writing, it's under stuff. So I have a few posted now. I plan on posting some more. And if you care to, go ahead and contact me through the website, and I can keep you posted on further progress. So the second book that I'm turning to is a novel, and it's kind of like my first novel, which is to say it's a project of the soul. It's the kind of story I don't get to write when I'm writing for hire. This is about a group of people who suddenly and inexplicably no longer believe that what happens in this world is real. That is to say, they no longer believe the stories and drama of their lives. It's for them kind of like waking up from a dream. If you know that experience when you see everything that just happened wasn't actually real, that's what they're going through. There's a word for that in some circles, and it's called enlightenment. And this isn't happening just to 2 or 3 people. It's actually happening to millions and millions of people all around the world. It's a pandemic of enlightenment. And governments are freaking out. World economies are staggered because the enlightened don't care that much about pleasing the boss or getting ahead in the working world. They're not buying the latest flat screen TV. They're not watching Real Housewives of whatever. They just kind of want to sit and look at the trees and take in the wonder of this world. So this is a story about them, and it's also a story about the people of a small Midwest town that for some reason is ground zero of this new pandemic. And it's also the story of the urgent care doctor there in the town who discovered the disease and is trying, with the help of the enlightened to get her fractured life back on track. So, again, please feel free to reach out if you care to through my website. You can follow me on Instagram. My name is on Instagram, Joe the Stillman. That's not because my middle name is it's just worked out that way. I'm also on Facebook. And I just will say that I have had significantly wonderful experiences with book clubs, and I am happily available to do more. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Joe. And I have to say, Joe has been always one of our staff favorites because here is a man who's won Emmys, BAFTA, nominated for Oscar, hugely successful, and he is the most humble, sweet person you could ever meet. And the fact that this man and everybody in our group today is so incredibly accomplished, yet they will take the time out of their busy schedule to Zoom with you and your book club and your library. I mean, it's really remarkable when you think about it. And so I hope you invite Joe and our other authors as well. Thank you. Next up, we have Natasha Lester, all the way. Are you in Australia today?
I am, yes.
You are. I love it. You will find her on your cheat sheet on page 2. And she is the last book listing on page 2, but she is certainly not last in our hearts. She's the international and New York Times best-selling Australian author of 10 historical fiction novels. I had the pleasure of meeting her in San Diego a few months back. She was delightful. Her books include The Paris Seamstress, The Paris Secret, The Riviera House, The Paris Orphan, The Three Lives of Alex St. Pierre. Her novels have been translated into 21 different languages and feature the extraordinary lives of distinct and dynamic female leads. Who doesn't love that? The Chateau on Sunset is a clever feminist reimagining of Jane Eyre that follows the journey of a sheltered young woman yearning to be invisible amidst Hollywood's glamour. However, her plan to disappear from the glitz is threatened when a reclusive yet seductive rock star purchases the hotel she calls home, as she finds herself wondering whether or not invisibility is what she truly desires. Natasha, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, and hello to everybody out there. I think I'm coming to you from the future. It's Friday morning in Australia, so it's a lovely day to be in the future. So I am going to talk about The Chateau on Sunset, my latest novel. It's a reimagining of Jane Eyre, as Susan mentioned, but I've transported the story to the golden age of Hollywood and set it against the backdrop of the legendary Chateau Marmont Hotel. I suppose the reason I wanted to do this was because I vividly remember reading Jane Eyre for the first time when I was about 10, and the front cover of my library copy of the book had a really large picture of Rochester on his white horse, and down in the bottom left-hand corner was this teeny tiny woman called Jane. So yes, the woman whose name was on the front cover of the book was the smallest thing on the front cover of the book, which strikes me as a particularly large injustice. But I do also feel a little bit like that is how the book has evolved over the years. Ask people about Jane Eyre, and they'll mention Rochester or the Mad Woman, but they won't always mention Jane. So what I wanted to do with this story is to remind people how incredible Jane is as a heroine. But there is one thing about her story that has always bothered me. There are so many moments throughout Jane Eyre where she is standing in the grounds of Lowood School or on the roof of Rochester's Thornfield Hall, and she's looking out at the hills that form a barrier between her and the rest of the world. And she yearns to cross over those hills. She longs to go out into the world and have these grand adventures, to travel, to explore. Now, there's only one moment in the book where she does charge out towards those hills. She runs across the moors after she finds out about the mad wife in the attic. If you're in a Bronte novel, running across a moor is compulsory at some point, so she does do that. But then she comes back to Thornfield Hall, and of course, it's no spoiler to say that Rita, she marries Rochester, And it's a very romantically satisfying ending. As a 10-year-old, I was totally swept away. But when I came back to the book as a young woman, I wondered whether Jane ever regretted not having had the adventures that she so longed to have. And so the Chateau on Sunset is about me giving Jane, this bold, brave feminist heroine, the ending that I feel she truly deserves, one that is both romantically satisfying, but perhaps more importantly, personally satisfying as well. So that was the spark that inspired the book. And the Chateau Marmont setting came about, I suppose, because, of course, Rochester's Thornfield Hall is very Gothic, as is the Chateau Marmont. In fact, Columbia Pictures studio boss Harry Cohen said about the hotel back in the day, if you must get into trouble, do it at the Chateau Marmont. And of course, that kind of line is like catnip to a novelist. My imagination immediately began to dream up all of the different kinds of trouble my characters could get into if I placed them into the Marmont. It's such a legendary building. Almost every golden age of Hollywood star has lived there at some point. People like Marilyn Monroe, Judy Garland, Paul Newman, Vivian Leigh, Grace Kelly. And all of those stars got up to all kinds of mischief in the hotel. Some of it's funny, and you'll find some of those anecdotes in the book, but also some of it's not so funny. Because, of course, if you have a place where people know they can go and get into trouble and it won't get found out, sometimes bad things can happen. So the book looks at some of that too. My main character, Aria, is like Jane, an orphan when she arrives at the Chateau Marmont at age 14. She's surrounded by stars, but Aria makes a vow that in this place where everybody just wants to be seen, she wants to remain invisible. That is, of course, until 7 years pass and a very handsome rock star arrives at the hotel with a young daughter who needs someone to look after her. And Aria steps not just into that role, but into the spotlight as well. Now, it wouldn't be a Natasha Lester story without a European setting, so you will find yourself transported to Venice in the latter part of the story too. But at its heart, it's, I hope, an uplifting story about an orphan who just wanted to be invisible, but who learns to be the star of her own life instead, which I feel like is something we should all be in our own lives as well. So that's The Chateau on Sunset. Thanks, Susan.
Thank you, Natasha, and totally agree. And so if you loved Jane Eyre, or if you didn't love it because you wanted to see a feminist version, Natasha's book is great for everybody in that respect. And, you know, most of us chiming in today are from North America. So we can get a European setting with an Australian author. You can have an international experience in the comfort of your own living room by inviting her to your book club. And the great thing about her being in Australia is there's enough of a time difference that you know, she doesn't have to join us in the middle of the night because our today is her tomorrow. So I hope you will invite her to your book club. Her books are fabulous. Thank you for joining us, Natasha. And last but certainly not least is a very special lady who I just adore. I adore all her books, and she's got so much exciting news on the horizon, which she so deserves. Just a reminder that we're going to be doing book giveaways after the presentation. You do have to be present to win, so don't go anywhere. You do not want to miss Alka Joshi. She is amazing. You can find her on the cheat sheet on page 2, and she is the second book listed on page 2. So turn and take your notes away. Alka Joshi is the international best-selling author of the Jaipur trilogy, The Henna Artist, which you may remember was a Reese Witherspoon pick, The Secret Keeper of Jaipur, and The Perfumist of Paris. Her debut novel immediately became a New York Times bestseller, as I said, a Reese Witherspoon book club pick, and an LA Times bestseller, as well as a Toronto Star, a Globe and Mail bestseller, an indie bookstores bestseller, a Cosmopolitan best audiobook, and an Amazon and Goodreads favorite. Oh my goodness. It was also longlisted for the Center for Fiction First Novel Prize, has been translated into 30 languages. Her latest release, 6 Days in Bombay, is a sweeping novel of identity and self-discovery as it takes readers from Bombay to Prague, Florence, Paris, and London to uncover the mystery behind a famous painter's death. She is always so fascinating and brilliant. Thank you for joining us today, Alka.
Thank you, Susan. Wow, I love that. What a fantastic introduction. And I was listening to everybody's presentations and thinking, AI has nothing on us because these ideas that everyone has, they're all so individual, so creative. I just don't think that AI can replicate that. So I'm really excited about that. Okay, so I wanted to ask you, book club members, what would motivate you to step outside of your comfort zone? Like what are you afraid of when you think about doing that? What is it that you could get over? And this is the question that 26-year-old Sona has to ask herself in 6 days in Bombay. She was abandoned by her father when she was only 3 years old. She's lived a very small, sheltered life in India. She's a nurse at a private hospital. She takes care of herself and her mother. And when a new patient walks in, she is dazzled by her because this new patient, Mira, she is a famous artist. She is outspoken, outrageous, promiscuous with everybody who walks into the room. And also, she sees things in Sona. She sees things in people that Sona can't quite put a name to. So here is this very unconventional woman who walks in and tells Sona all about her life and how she's lived all over Europe as well as in India. And Mira also sees in Sona that there is a penchant for wanting a little bit of a larger life. Sona wants a bigger life than the one that she has been destined for. And so, upon her death, Mira leaves several paintings of hers to be distributed throughout Europe to Mira's ex-lovers and ex-friends. And it turns out that Mira has betrayed a lot of people and left a lot of disappointed hearts all over Europe. And she is trying to atone for her sins by having these paintings delivered to them. And so Sona begins this journey. She goes from Bombay to Istanbul to Prague to Paris to Florence and then to London. And I also then followed those footsteps and that journey because I wanted to make sure that the book sounded as authentic as possible. I meet with experts in each of those areas. They might be art historians, they might be general historians, they might be interwar experts, because we are in 1937. That's the time period of this book. Along this journey, Sona finds forbidden pleasures. She also realizes that she is hunting for that father that she knows very little about. And also, she is stepping into her fear. She is finally doing the thing that she has been so scared of doing all this time, and that is stepping out of her comfort zone. Along the way, also, she finds that Mira, through the friends that she has, is very complicated and troubled, and really far more than the side that she has shown to Sona at the hospital. Um, the reason that I started to write this book is because I wanted to pay tribute to a very celebrated artist from the 20s and 30s who was half Hungarian and half Indian, and whose name was Amrita Shergill. But a lot of people have forgotten about her at this point on the global stage. And I don't want women like that, unconventional women, women who were outrageous, who were politically outspoken, who did not want to follow in the same footsteps that their parents wanted them to follow. I want those women to be celebrated always and forevermore. And so, like Amrita Shergill, Mira is that artist in the book, and she is showing Sona the way to have a much more unconventional life. I like to pay tribute to the women who came before us to show that there are other ways of being. And I think that is just so important for all of us to acknowledge the women who came before us. Now, there was a book club member on one of my Zooms who asked me, she said, is Sona you? Like, is Sona the most like you than any of your other characters in your books? And I thought about it and I thought, that was very insightful. Yes. I think that, I came from being a very shy, sheltered child. And I was always really scared to step outside of that comfort zone. I was scared to talk to people. I was scared to even engage with anybody. I would sit in the corner and just draw. And I thought, along the way, so many people have helped me come out of that, pulled me out of that comfort zone and said, Elka, it is time for you to let your star shine. And they would always say things like, you're a diamond in the rough, you're like almost there, but not quite. And I think that we all need people like that in our lives. And I hope that if you have ever taken a big risk in your life, that you will see yourself in Sona as she does, and also be able to find the best and wildest parts of herself. And I hope you can find the best and wildest parts of yourself when you've taken a big risk. So, 6 Days in Bombay is all about celebrating the many ways in which we women can live that do not, that really defy convention and do not stick to any particular script. So yeah, so that is what it's like. And in my book club presentations, I show a lot of the places I visited, the experts I spoke to, and of course, I show you the real Amrita Shergill and all the paintings that she did. And I tell you why those paintings really inspired me as an art history major, as somebody who visits museums all over the world, why they meant so much to me. So thank you so much for listening. Thank you, Susan. Thank you to Adventures by the Book. If it weren't for you guys reading our books, we would have nothing to write.
Alka, thank you. You cannot go wrong with her. I see all these comments in the chat box, people who have scheduled visits with her, read her books and love her. And she's got such a fascinating personal story, as well as her books are amazing. She's had a remarkable journey. She loves to talk about all of it with book clubs. So we hope you will invite her and all of our 15 authors today, even though Lisa Cheek, we don't know where you are, but we missed you. But you can select her as well. So I hope you will visit all of our authors' book sites, and Eliana typed all those in the chat box, but we'll be sending you a thank you e-blast as well, which will include that information, so you'll have everything you need. We want to thank all of our authors for being here today. You guys are amazing. The fact that you give up your time when you could be writing away to meet with your readers is really remarkable. And I hope you give them all a chance to meet with you on Zoom or FaceTime or whatever you guys use. They're really all remarkable, incredible storytellers. And as I promised, we're going to be doing a book giveaway at the end. We're going to pick 10 winners. You do have to be present to win. So we're going to be calling those names now, but I do want to thank our adventurers who have joined us today. We had over 150 people that signed up. We appreciate you. We will be sending this recording, uploading it to our YouTube channel. So if you missed any or all of it, well, obviously you didn't miss all of it if you're here, but if you missed any of it, joined late, left early, have anybody who may enjoy this, you can send them to our YouTube channel to watch the full recording as well. So we do appreciate you. And don't forget, readers, that you can order the author's books on our website, adventuresbythebook.com, and show your support of them today and anytime. So next up for our winners, Eliana, are you ready to record names? Yeah. I'm going to start calling. And I'm sorry to mention that if you're outside the US, we can't have you as a winner because the shipping doesn't work, and I'm apologize for that. We love you outside this country. We just can't send you the prize. So if we call your name and you're not located in the US, we're not going to be able to send you a book, and I apologize for that. So first up, winner is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Barbara Montejo. Barbara, I'm just writing your name down. All right. Number one winner. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Tom Christensen. All right. Tom Christensen. And we assume we have all your email addresses. But if we don't, make sure to email us so we don't miss you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Neil Weber. Neil Weber, your winner number 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Sari Eisenwasser. Sorry if I got your name wrong. Sorry, but you are winner number 4. And next up, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Kim Ashby. You are winner number 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Rose Crossan. Congratulations, you are winner number 6. And we do not guarantee which book you win, but you cannot go wrong with any of our authors. Next up is Jane Hopkins, winner number 7. Congratulations, Jane. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Connie Dortch, you are winner number 8. All right, we have 2 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Wendy Taylor. Wendy Taylor, congratulations. And last but certainly not least, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Carolyn Stafford, you are a winner as well. So we picked our 10 winners. We will be notifying you so we can get your shipping addresses so our authors can send their books directly to you. Once again, I want to thank all of our adventurers for supporting our events, our authors, our books. Please do take the time to schedule a book club visit with each of our authors. They all have something really unique to offer. They spend all this time writing in their cubby holes wherever they are, and they're anxious to talk to you and get your reactions on their books and ask questions. And talk to them about all exciting the news they have going on. To our authors, thank you again. We love all of you, and we appreciate your taking the time to be here tonight. So as always, until next time, what is your next adventure by the book? Good night, everybody.
Thanks, Susan and Liana.